Sometimes it's just better to do things right away, immediately. You know, I think of my poor brother. He's probably not going to like it that I'm going to share this with you all, but he's not here. There's a first time for everything. Okay, well, let's start again. Sorry. We'll get that fixed in a second. So anyway, my brother, when he goes into a pool, it's hilarious because he can't do it. He gets in and he's like, oh my gosh, this is way too cold. And then he stands there just complaining about how cold it is for, I don't know, it seems like at least 5 minutes. Dude, it'd be so much better if you just went in and let your body acclimate itself to the water instead of just standing there complaining. Hello, what are you doing? Just go in, get it done. My own story of this happened a few years ago. This has nothing to do with getting into a pool, but I was in Costa Rica studying Spanish, and one of the things, I was on the zip line course. Rick, did you find the batteries? Bring them up. I don't like to be here. Yeah, I gotta walk around. Anyway, so I'm at the zip line course, and we get to the end of it, and there's this Tarzan swing. So very similar to what you would find at Michigan Adventure or Cedar Point, you know, where they pull you up and you have to release yourself and you fly down. Anyway, so this Tarzan swing, thank you, sir. Hopefully those work. So at the very end of the zip line course, we get to this platform, and I look down, it's 300 feet. So I have the choice in the moment to either jump off or not. So I get all harnessed up, and I think we're going to be good to go now. Praise the Lord. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so I'm at the platform, and I'm getting ready, and I'm looking down, and I'm thinking, and all I can see in my mind is this: that cord breaking and me dying. It might have something to do with this that's in the way. So I'm looking down and I'm thinking, this isn't gonna be good. And I try to jump and I'm like, I can't do it. So finally the instructor comes over and he says, hey, I'll count down and I'll give you a nice little gentle push. And I'm like, it better be gentle. So he counts down from 3 and he gets to 0 and he goes, all right, go. And he pushes me in the back. I'm like, no. And I grab the fence. I think nope, I'm out, not doing it. So I take the harness off, give it to my other buddies, and then I watch everyone else after me just do it like that. You know, they just jump. I'm like, man, I wish I could tell you I went back to do it. Nope. But I was jealous of the others who were doing it. They just immediately went and jumped. In the Gospel of Mark, that word immediately is used often. And I just encourage you to read the first 8 chapters and pay attention to when you see that word. You're going to see it all the time because Mark uses that word to teach us something about who Jesus is. So Mark says immediately Jesus does this and it happens. So whenever Jesus says, I do will it be made clean, person's made clean. When Jesus says, like last week, calm, quiet, be still, what happens? The ocean and the storm are called, or the sea and the storm are calm itself. And so when Jesus says something, he makes it happen. It immediately happens. And we see that in our gospel today. Jesus immediately goes with Jairus. The woman approaches him, touches him, and she's immediately healed. And then he goes to the daughter, and he touches her hand, says, arise, and she immediately comes back to life. When Jesus does something, it happens immediately, and it manifests his power, that he is of divine origin, and he can make these things happen just by speaking it into existence. But I want to focus on another part of that word, another part of our gospel that expresses that word immediately. Our woman in our gospel, the woman with the hemorrhages, has 0 reason to approach Jesus. 0. Think about the Jewish culture, about what's going on for what people are required to do when they have a bleed. They are required to stay away from people until their bleed is gone. So in other words, so for her, it's been 12 years. That means she can't be in the city or the town. She can't be close to people. She can't be within a certain number of feet of her own family and friends. She has to be alienated from everyone. So she's alienated from normal civilization, and she experiences intense loneliness because she can't even be with her family because she's unclean. So she has zero reason to approach Jesus. What does she do? When Jesus comes and there's a great crowd around him, he's clearly hurrying because he's going off to go help this little girl who's dying. And what does she do? She doesn't wait. She doesn't pause. She immediately goes to Jesus because she knows that if she could just touch his cloak, she would be healed. She did not let shame. She did not let fear of the crowd. She did not let fear of how Jesus would respond to her keep her from approaching Jesus. She just went. She went and she was healed. Imagine if she was like me. If she allowed her fear to keep her from doing something that she knew she should do. Now, granted, you could argue I probably shouldn't jump off 300-foot platforms, but still. If she had allowed her fear to paralyze her and prevent her from approaching Jesus, she would still have the hemorrhages. She would never have been healed. But she went. This past week, I was invited to Holy Family in Caledonia for the Priest Clergy Appreciation Dinner, which is hosted by the Diocesan Knights. And when I got there, one of the things that was pretty cool was they had their young adult group serving the dinner. And the young adults were all wearing these t-shirts that said, "Do it afraid." And I was like, what does that mean, do it afraid? And I'm thinking, it's got to be scriptural in some way. And I'm trying to think of Peter getting out of the boat and all this different stuff. And so finally I called one of them over and said, "Hey, young man, tell me what that shirt means." He goes, "Yeah, it's really quite simple, Father. It's exactly what you think it is. There's all these people that have some fear or anxiety, but they go to Jesus anyway. They do it even if they're afraid. So just like Peter, get out of the boat, or the lady in our gospel, go to Jesus even if you're afraid. Do it afraid." And I think the message for us this weekend is really simply this: to think about the things that hold us back, the things that make us afraid to approach Jesus and say, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid of shame. I'm not going to be afraid of what other people think. I'm not even going to be afraid of, I'm not going to let fear of how Jesus is going to respond prevent me from approaching him. Because what does Jesus do with this young lady when she approaches him? He stops, he spends time with her, he heals her, he loves her, and he says, "Your faith has saved you." He's still in a hurry. He still has someone to go pray with and restore their health. But he takes the time to be with this person. We can convince ourselves that Jesus doesn't have time for me. There's so many other people in the world that he should be dealing with. But he wants to deal with you. And all he needs of you is for you to do it afraid. Because it's so much better to go to Jesus than to not go to Jesus at all.